Welcome to the channel. This is Oblivion, and in today's Fae report, we will be discussing the new Fae channel and everything to do with the new Chaos season. On today's episode, we have two special guests. First, a newcomer to the channel, but a longtime friend, DTM.
Yeah, hello everyone, DTM here, and yeah, super thankful for Oblivion Night for inviting me. I'm a fellow FaeTuber mainly doing Aether Raids content, so I'm obviously super excited for these changes, and yeah, super excited to talk about it.
Hey, me too, definitely. We also have a returning guest and a good friend, Joel from Fehology.
Hello, Summoners, and it is absolute chaos today! Sorry for the dad joke.
It's fine, I'll probably make some too. Okay, so now, like I said, we will be discussing everything Chaos season in this episode, but before we start on that very big topic, I want to just lightly go over the Fae channel a bit and get your ideas on how both of you are feeling about it, and also we need to start talking about Embla and Askr. So I just want to know, Joel, what do you think of the design of these two new gods, and what do you think that might mean for the game?
Okay, so, I mean, Embla looks amazing. Like, her design is just phenomenal. I love it. I love Askr's design for a different reason, and that's because I will love to make fun of it for a solid year. That cowbell is just something. I mean, I want to see what it does. I am so excited to see that weapon effect. Like, is it going to be another warping thing or what? Are we going to have a ton?
Oh, man.
Are we going to have like a ton of bat beasts coming at us now, which I'm really excited about?
Me too.
Yeah, just can't wait. I want to see it all.
What about you, DTM?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have the same reactions. Like, honestly, I love both of the designs. Both Embla and Askr, I think, work really well and has a lot of like thematic connections between those two. And even though the cowbell does look ridiculous, I think it just fits so well in character. And yeah, super excited to see them in the game. And also, we have new generic bat enemies as well, which I think were super cool. And yeah, super excited to see. Apparently, we're getting new generics every book, which I guess is a welcome change as well. Definitely.
So for me, I was a bit caught off guard by Embla's design. I do like it a lot now that I've seen the actual art of it, but during the cinematic, I was kind of like, I'm not so sure about this one. And when it comes to Askr, like, I think they really know their audience quite well when they made that design. For sure. To be honest, though, I was kind of confused that they weren't dragons. I don't know why. I felt like somewhere in the story they mentioned dragons, but maybe I'm just completely off like base and I have no idea what I'm talking about. But that's what I was expecting when they showed up.
Yeah, I think they mentioned something like that in like book 1, where like we have like the two ancient dragons that were the founders. I can't like remember.
Oh my god, DTM, you're right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Like, I completely forgot about that.
Maybe I'm like misremembering, but I could have sworn they specifically mentioned like two dragons, similar to how Fates was. But I mean, I guess technically they could make it so that dragons is a more expansive class of gods per se, and they could like retcon that.
Okay, so I'm not crazy then, because I thought that was for sure what they said, but
I could have sworn too.
That's good to know.
Dragon cow is here.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna start mixing unit types together. Oh man, that would be nuts.
That's going to be the new thing in book 7 after book 6.
Okay, so what do you guys think? Are we gonna get them as mythic units? Like, I think like we should, but what if they pull a Niffle and Moosebell again?
I mean, Letiza isn't a mythic, right? So, if they're like saving the mythics for, I guess, these higher beings, it would make sense. If these are not mythics, then I honestly have no idea what a mythic is anymore, according to IS. Like, genuinely.
I think they're definitely going to be mythics. Definitely going to be mythics. There's no way they do anything else. I'm doubling down because I'm right 100% of the time, 50% of that.
I'm definitely interested to see what they do, and like, I'm guessing they're going to be light and dark, but who knows really? Like, I don't want to start talking about this yet, but what if they are Chaos Mythics? Just putting that out there.
Oh no!
We are way too soon.
No.
Okay. Yeah, let's not.
We'll get back to that. We'll get back to that.
Let's get back to that.
Speaking of the cinematic, though, there's two other things I want to talk about. First of all, like Ascendant or Legendary Veronica, that design is fire. I love that design. She looks so good.
Yeah, it is so good. And honestly, it might even be like a Fallen design for Veronica as well. Like it could be Legendary, Ascendant, or Fallen. And yeah, she just looks super good. And I really like the new short hair. I like the fancy adornments that is in her outfit. Yeah, it's just really well done, I think.
And Oblivion, you said it in your overview, but the new icon as well looks so good.
Yes.
Definitely one of the best icons we've had up to this point. I really like it. Okay, and the other thing, this is for Joel. Where is Sharina? I don't see Sharina at all.
I don't know. What have they done with my girl? Come on. She got replaced by a cow.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. Hopefully Ash does something, because as much as I like Ash as a character and like her design, it's amazing, but she has not done anything in this story yet, really.
I agree. Like, I do like the story of book 6 so far with like the intrigue with Embla, but yeah, like Anna, Sharina, and Ash are basically pretty much non-existent and not necessary, which is a bit of a shame.
It's the Veronica story that's hooked me. The Veronica story is just, I am fascinated, which is strange because, historically the story has been so bad in this game.
True. Yeah, true.
Yeah, I guess.
For me, like I wasn't a big Veronica fan, like the first book, maybe the second book, but like after book 3 with Rossi, like I actually like Veronica a lot now.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And who knows, we still need the Veronica alt of this year to be in effect, so I can see IS trying to push that.
Oh, definitely. Okay, so moving on from the cinematic, let's talk about some of the rewards for this big celebration. A massive 3 orbs. That's a new record.
So generous. Thank you so much, IS. What could we do without you?
We do get 13 free pulls, though, on 13 sparkleable banners. So this is kind of big, because there are a few good banners in there. So what banners are you like looking forward to? Are there any banners that are going to tempt you to pull?
I think for me, the one banner that is actually tempting me is the one with Winter Bernadetta.
Yes.
Yes. That dealing 1 damage to allies is such a unique effect and is so good for player phase and Gale Force strategies, and is like the one unit I don't have that I actually care about in like all these banners. Maybe if I hadn't had Yuri, I would have potentially sparked for Yuri, but like even then, I think Winter Bernadetta is by far the standout for me and the one that is tempting me.
I mean, after that, obviously, Yuri, if you don't have him, here's your chance. But
right.
I'm waiting for in the voting gauntlet, not the voting gauntlet, but the Hero Rises. Horse Dimitri will win that, so we'll have a free Horse Dimitri, and then you can pull for Winter Bernie and Yuri. I mean, that's the way to go, right?
I'm just really hoping we don't get base Edelgard. I will be very angry.
I will be happy. That's an additional merch for me.
I will be beyond like angry. Like Winter Bernadetta, Yuri, I'm fine with that. Even like other than those two, I can't really see anybody else winning. But if we just get base Edelgard and then she doesn't get a good refine, I'll be very, very, very angry.
You say that now, but Edelgard will get the most OP refine, even better than Brave Hector. Mark my words. You heard it here first, folks.
I
will write that down. Make sure you were held to that.
When they release those refines, it's going to be a good day. Like that's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, and I mean just these past refines have been really good. So hopefully that can carry on for every single month after this.
Yeah, just today, like my defense got swept by a +10 Nisala with that refine. It was just like, oh my goodness, this is like the deal right now. Yeah, man, I'm sure you'll be happy about that.
So much damage. Yes, definitely. So for the Hero Rises, who are you going to vote for, Joel?
I mean, honestly, for the Hero Rises, I'm voting for Winter Bernie. I mean, I would love to have her in my barracks. I don't think she's going to win, but I think that's got to go to Yuri. But I would like to have her.
Yeah, same. Winter Bernie for me. Maybe mixing in Edelgard in there if I'm feeling biased towards my favorite lord in 3 houses. But yeah, probably Winter Bernie for me. All the way.
I'm hoping that that will happen, but I have like a lot of doubts that we're actually going to get Winter Bernie. I'm guessing it's going to be Yuri, like 90%.
Yes, same.
So the other thing is we did get a new FE7 banner, and this was, honestly, it was a bit underwhelming, but I do think there's some good stuff here. So what are you feeling about this, Joel? Do you think there's anything worth pulling here at all?
The one I'm curious about is Mr. Rally Trap. I think we know what Ascendant Florina is, and I think she's going to be good. I mean, she's essentially an updated version of, was it Summer Tana? A much better version, much better. But I think we know what she'll do. I can't quite put my finger on what the applications will be for that extra action after you rally, but I feel like you could do something with it that would be cool.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there for sure. Like, so at first I was thinking Sane could do a Fallen Dimitri where he could like rally essentially and then use the Canto remaining +1 to go hit a trap. But I forgot that like he'll get the extra action before he gets the Canto, so he can't really do that. So I'm thinking he is going to be like a defensive specialist where he's going to do that rally trap but not have to get dance. That's what I'm assuming his role is going to be.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the same. Like, rally trap is my first immediate thought when seeing him. And not requiring a dance to do that is, we can get into this later, but is really good for Chaos Season since you are limited by one dancer. So that is something important to consider. So yeah, I definitely think Sane, is definitely the most, I guess, interesting in terms of trying to figure out the possibilities. I do like Florina's though. Like, she has like the Ash teleportation and the reverse Wom, though I'm still a bit unsure about how better that would be in practice, versus like other options like Linja or Nidoran and the like. But yeah, overall, I think it's a okay banner, I'd say. I was just about to say, I really dislike the design of Florina. It's just so boring to me. Especially compared to, like I said, I do.
They're like, here's Florina and there's a cape. They even say it in the Fae channel. Oh, and she has a cape. I'm like, oh, come on. I mean, DTM, you said it in your review about it. I wanted more of Joshua, who his Ascendant was just so good. But yeah.
Ascendant Joshua is by far my favorite Ascendant. I'm very biased.
He looks amazing. And he's an amazing unit. I mean, it's just good all the way around.
Yeah, and he's actually looks different from his base. And I just want a lot more creativity when it comes to these designs. Like, ever since I want to say Merida, and especially Ishtar, I feel like the design of the art has just gone downhill, unfortunately.
I do disagree with you on Merida. I like her art. The throwback where her outfit looks a lot like Shannon, I think is a really neat touch. But okay. I can't dispute any of the other stuff you said. Ishtar was incredibly boring. Florina's boring. Give me something different.
For me, it's more the design, like the unit design, and less like what they look like, right? Like the fact that Merida's just another red sword, Ishtar's just another blue tome. It's like, come on, man, switch it up a little bit at least. You know what I mean? Like, give us something new.
Right.
But I am excited for Ascendant Florina a little bit, and the reason why is she has a super bane in HP. Which means if you're on Fury 4 and Fury 3, she can do a reverse Wings of Mercy. Like, she could be a reverse Wings of Mercy beacon. So I'm pretty interested in that.
Florina Force!
How much HP does she have with the Bane? Was it like 35?
35, I believe. And then she takes 14. And she doesn't have to get 50%. She has to be at 60%.
Okay, I see.
And then the other thing is, I'm very biased yet again. Harmonica Roy works with her, so I'm like, maybe there's something here. I can figure it out, right?
True.
So I don't know if there's actually anything there or not, but I can dream, right?
Hey, I mean, you can like double stack that true damage from Roy and Florina's weapon. So at the very least, she'll punch very hard.
I think we're all sipping on some sort of copium here. I mean, keep on believing in your Roy, and DTM can believe in his Edelgard, and I'm apparently just all in on Horse Dimitri. So
okay, the last thing for this banner is Leticia, and I feel like this unit's super underwhelming. Is it just me? Like, do I just feel like this unit's not going to do anything at all?
I mean, I just don't think she's anything new. Like, we've had bulky range calves with auto follow up with like those stat swings before. Like dual leaf was one. Maybe she would have been better as a mythic, but as a normal unit, yeah, I feel the same way. I think she'll be good, but nothing special.
I don't even know if she'll be good. I'm so down. Like I saw her when she came out and I read her skills, and the problem is you're a green tome. What's the first thing you have to do? You have to beat Vector. She doesn't.
Right. True.
She doesn't at all. Like it doesn't even come close.
No.
So
yeah. I was hoping she would have a Canto like in her weapon, like an actual Canto, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they would just add that in there, but they didn't. So I'm like, she's just relying on Trace, and I'm like, it's not doing much.
I was on some, I think, copium stuff because I was thinking she might have like an anti-save skill in her weapon or something. Turns out we didn't need that, but we'll get into that. But yeah, super basic, super underwhelming.
Okay. So other than Chaos Season, because we're about to start talking about that, is there anything else you want to mention about the Fae channel? Anything that got you excited or something you hated maybe?
I wanted more 3 hopes. I wanted more of a rollout event. I wanted a free Shez. I wanted them to lean into that, and it feels like they don't consider this a very big deal that the game's coming out, and that kind of dampens the hype in the community.
Yeah, I was surprised that they haven't made a tie-in banner with like the 3 Hopes designs of the Lords or something. And maybe that'll be later because 3 Hopes is releasing later. But at least from a business perspective, that I feel like is such a good opportunity to advertise for the game and, get people to pull. And maybe they'll do that later. But yeah, I'm very surprised that at least compared to what 3 Houses did, I think, back in 2019. Like, this is honestly pretty muted, besides, like, the 13 banners that we had.
It's worth noting that the first 3 Houses banner didn't come out until after the game was released. So it's like, I think Promise predicted first banner in July, and she does work at IS, so she probably knows.
I see.
I do think I'm a little high on copium here, but I feel like, what if Nintendo Direct, right? We're probably going to get one. It's around E3 time, even though it got canceled. Like, there's a chance we get one, and maybe they will have a big 3 Hopes blowout, and they'll be like, hey, there's a Fae tie-in. Go play Fae. Do it. Something like that, hopefully. I don't know how realistic that is, but maybe that will happen.
I think it's possible.
Pass me some of that. I'm all in. Let's do it.
Oh man. Okay, let's start talking about Chaos Season. And there is too much to talk about here. So I guess I will just start by asking you. Let's start with DTM. What is your just initial reaction to Chaos Season? What are you hoping for here? What are you feeling?
So my initial reaction was sort of a cautious optimism, because I've been saying for a long time that Aether Raids has needed a meta shift for a while, since I think all of us can agree that it's been basically save balls versus Catria balls, which after 6 months or something is not the most exciting thing in the world. So anything that can shake up the meta, I think, is a good thing. I would have preferred a more natural means, but I think I'll take what I can get. And overall, at the very least, I think this will be very interesting to make content for and to play. I'm just cautiously optimistic. I think the rules and no mythic merges affecting scoring is super good for me. And yeah, just having that cautious optimism. I tend to be a cup half full sort of person when it comes to these changes. So yeah, kind of excited.
I'm so back and forth. Just there's some really good things. Like you want your mode to be accessible, and the fact that we don't require mythics that, the whales among us, which I mean everyone on this show except for DTM is.
Hey. I'm like the minnow in a room full of whales right now.
Kind of, yeah. But the mythic merges don't mean much. Don't mean anything, rather. And it's easy to get into. The hard part is, just like you were saying, Oblivion. It's back to 2000. What was it? 18. Do you remember when it first came out? Yes. And how hard that was? And I just started crafting stuff today, and the first thing I did was I made a cav line, and suddenly cav lines are just a monster to deal with again. And so, I'm going back to trying and figuring out, pre-Vector, can I use double tanks on this? Can I do all of these things? And I'm having to remember all of those old strategies. And I'm worried that the standard Feh player, are they going to have the attention span to build a brand new defense, brand new offenses? And I really want this to capture attention, and I'm worried it's not going to, and instead it's just going to be another drag.
Yes. So I am a naturally pessimistic person. So if you saw my reaction, it was like a dread. I was like, oh God. Because for me, it was really just back to 2018. Mm-hmm. And if you played really competitive Aether Raids in 2018 and early 2019, oh man, that was some difficult stuff. That was you're spending 30 minutes to an hour at least on every single match. Yeah. Now the major difference is we do have ladders, so that's a big protection there. But even so, that's a lot of time to invest, right? And that's not even, it's not really substituting anything. You still have to do Light and Astral Season when they show up. So that's just another thing to add on top of what you're already doing. Right. And so for me, Joel said this as well. For me, this is SDR of Aether Raids. And ARR. I am afraid it's going to be a lot for a lot of players to handle. That's just going to be, it's going to be scary. And I could see it really scaring off even more people from Aether Raids, which is definitely not the goal of IS or people who, enjoy Aether Raids. We want more people coming in for sure. Mm-hmm. But I think it does offer a lot of creativity. There's a lot of things to think about now. And like you were mentioning, Joel, I do think that there might be a reversion of the meta to an extent, right? The meta might be rewinding itself, which is really interesting to think about, but horrifying to play against. Because how do you prepare against a meta that is going to be, part 2019 meta, part 2021 meta? It's going to be everywhere.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's brand new territory. We've been having the same meta for so long that all of a sudden, we have no idea what to expect with all these new units that we now can play with in a meta that is not dominated by saves. And I feel at the very least, it'll be very interesting to see it play out. I personally was not there back in 2018 when Aether Raids was in its early stages, so I don't really have much experience on how suffering it was. But at least for me, the fact that there are these restrictions on the sort of team comps you can build, I think can help sort of circumvent some of the more toxic aspects of defense or offense. Although I think the new maps, especially the one in the middle, I forgot which one that was. I think it was the Jotunheimer one, I think.
Yeah.
That one is super toxic in my opinion, with the 2 unbreakable walls. Although again, we don't know how this will work in Chaos because of just the meta and being able to run Elamine now on Chaos without any penalties. Just a lot to think about.
Yes, definitely. So with that, we do have some scoring changes, right? Like you mentioned earlier, we don't get the Mythic Blessing scoring anymore. We just get a flat plus 70, I believe. But we do get the bonus unit kill scoring. And because there is no Mythic additional scoring, these 20 points are pretty much mandatory if you're going to want to be scoring in that top 1K, right? You have to get that every time there's a match, which means if you mess up, that's a ladder gone already. So it's not just losing now, it's also missing pots. It's also getting 20 points with your bonus unit. So I think it is very interesting to see how that will affect team building, right? Because one of the easiest things you could do with your bonus unit, because it's based off versions now, or that is an option at least, was you could just throw a dancer there, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Easy. But now you have to get a kill with that dancer. So that really kind of like pushes people away from doing that. So it's very, very interesting.
It is. I do think this bonus kill requirement affects more enemy phase teams a lot more compared to more player phase teams like Gale Force, because at least in normal AR, generally you try to trap a unit in a Gale Force strategy in order to get the pots. And so if you trap a unit, presumably one that is range, you can always have like your bonus unit, say an OG Lucina or a Soleil, just come in and take care of that, no problem, and you're done. For tanking, it requires a lot more thought because you have to make sure that you don't sweep, so that unless your bonus unit is the carry, you have to make sure that you position your units in a way where not all of the enemy will just be completely wiped out. So yeah, I feel like this also brings back a lot more positional skills as well when it comes to this bonus kill requirement as well.
Now, Oblivion, you realize what has gone on here and why DTM is so happy about this. The
Yes,
the
I do.
meta has come and just run into him full steam. They were like, okay, what is DTM's team and what mode can we make in AR that would go perfectly with it?
I mean, I was originally a bike player with like full on taking strats, but yeah, like I do have a bias towards player face strategies that I think a lot of people who follow me know very well. And I will try to like keep an open perspective on that, but I generally do really like these changes and like the bonus kill changes as well. I feel like it makes the game a lot more strategically interesting, in my personal opinion.
And if you're listening right now and you don't know what I'm talking about, go to DTM's channel. He often plays with 6 units and 1 dancer and does Gale Force strategies, which will be harder now because they take a lot more finessing. But the way DTM does them would be perfect for this mode. So if you're looking for ways to do that in Chaos, go look at his stuff.
Oh,
Yes,
thank you.
Joel, I think you make a really good point though, because the thing is with Gale Force now, right? There are 2 units I can think. There's more than 2 units, but there's 2 units that DTM uses that I can think of that Stonks just went like super up, right? First of all, Brave Marianne, us Brave Marianne Stans, just keep winning.
Oh yes,
So
good.
that's a good feeling. I wish I would have made a video now with like all the bad things people said about Brave Marianne, and then just have her flex on them. So Brave Marianne for 1 for sure.
I mean,
right?
I would be in that video, so I don't know if I like this one.
I wasn't gonna say anything, Joe, but yeah, probably. Just have your picture there with your knee blacked out. Oh man. But yeah, Brave Marianne's for sure. And then the other unit is Fallen Edelgard. And the reason why Fallen Edelgard stonks just went up a lot, in my opinion, is, well, first of all, she has 3 actions, right? Just by herself, which is amazing. Second of all, though, is because there's no mythic buffs, everything just got a lot easier to kill. And one of the things Fallen Edelgard can kind of struggle with is one-shotting things, right? So sometimes you have to use 2 actions to kill one thing. But now when everybody's losing 10 HP, maybe 5 defense even, she's going to have an easier time just smashing through things, for sure.
For sure. And yeah, like when I do my Gale Force teams, like because of Fallen Edelgard, I'm often very reliant on Bolt Tower, because since Edelgard can't double unless I pair her up with like Legendary Lucina, very often she can't one-shot things like Not, Saros, Dual Leaf, even Reinhardt, which are still common actually. But with like all the bulk getting reduced thanks to no Mythic Blessings, that's less of a problem. And yeah, it feels like everything is like having the stars aligned, honestly, in terms of my play style.
Everything's coming
Definitely.
up DTM.
Okay, so Joe, when it comes to team building, what is the one thing? Because there's a lot of stuff when it comes to team building right now. But what's the one thing you're thinking of right now that you really want to take advantage of with this new team building?
I think for the standard player, the biggest strategy that you're going to have to embrace is hit and run. Especially if you think of how isolation stocks have just risen through the roof, because
Exactly.
only 1 dancer. So yeah, I get used to that hit and run. Bring it back out of your toolbox because Catria balls just really ate that for lunch. And yeah, hit and run to your heart's content. The other nice thing about hit and run is that you can selectively leave certain units out and then have whatever your bonus unit is come out and take advantage of that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's something I wanted to talk about too, is the fact that Milla and Brilefjorm have like just become amazing, like way better units. I think Milla might be the best mythic in this game mode. It's either Milla or Elamine probably, because not only do they offer isolation, which is going to be amazing against one dancer, but it's going to be way more difficult for the defense team to hit those HP and defense thresholds they need to cancel out the isolation. It's way more difficult. So those units are just like phenomenally good now in this game mode, I think. And the question for that, right, is as isolation gets really good, what was the answer to isolation we got? Odd recovery, right? Odd and even recovery. So I'm interested to see if that comes back on defense as well. Now, the thing to consider, of course, is that it only works on one turn, right? It's only even or odd.
Exactly what I was about
there
to say.
is some play there, yeah.
And we do have safety fence still in Chaos Season. So.
Yes. True, yes.
Because I pulled
I don't
out
expect any turn ones.
on the Cav line. I pulled it out and I was like, all right, this is like my 2018 Cav line back. And I even had odd recovery on my Nana. And then I remembered that, safety fence, and I just waited a turn and could easily beat my own defense. So I'm like, oh, well, dang.
Right. It is interesting though that is a thing to think about again, considering that it kind of like flew out with safety fence. But you don't know, it might come back, especially if you can make a defense who can take advantage of the catapult and Duma, right? Duma actually might not be terrible in this game mode, which is really cool. Not only just because he got his remix and refine, but like the way you can kind of predict some things. It's kind of not too difficult to figure out where people are going to put their safety fence at. So if you could have 2 units to take that out, then you can actually apply some pressure there for sure.
Okay, so we were talking about this, and there's one thing with Duma. And since we have these shrunken defense teams, it is much harder to get that extra unit that does special stuff. And so, I mean,
true.
The way I'm calculating for most teams, I think you're going to be able to have one of those units. So do you bring just Medeus? Do you bring just an interesting one is legendary Myrrh for Warp Bubble? Do you bring just Duma? And you're going to have to be really careful and very methodic about which ones you bring and why.
That's definitely true. So the other thing, right, is we only get 1 savior unit. So obviously this does mean like the end of save balls in this game mode at least.
Sorry.
I never really use save balls, to be honest. I just use Brave Hector and he does the job for me. So, but the thing that's interesting to me is how saves might develop, right? Because if hit and run becomes really strong, like it did in that early 2021 meta when everyone got free Lin, right? Then far save is going to be the thing you want. But then if that kind of overcorrects and people start going for more player phase Gale Force teams, then near save is really good. So it will be kind of interesting to see how that works. I do think it's going to lean towards far save just because far save is historically better. But I do think it can be interesting if we see some kind of like anti-meta defense pop up.
I would personally put stock on far save being the more prevalent far save, at least from my initial impressions, just because one, there are traps that you can use to help mitigate people attacking in melee range, since melee units can't run disarm trap. So I think what you might see is, say you have like a cav line or a knot line that's protected by 1 far saver and just have the 4 traps just like across adjacent to like the line. That might be an archetype that we might see, at least in terms of defense.
Right.
So there are 2 defenses I think are coming back. And that's, we already discussed the cav line, and you just said it. The note line with legendary Sigurd. Oh.
We're back to June of 2021, folks.
Speaking of that, though, right? I think that the interesting thing about this game mode now is that mythics are no longer restricted to their season. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with that, right? You can use mythics just on offense that are supposed to be on defense. and vice versa. You can use different combinations of mythics you've never been able to use before. And of course, with that, it means that not and dagger can be on defense and duo dagger. So that's a lot of Pathfinder to deal with.
It definitely is.
Yeah. I've just read that someone had an idea for a defense team that had Ash actually as part of their defense to enable a lot of warping strategies. And that just demonstrates how open and varied at least the first couple of seasons of this chaos will be. And yeah, like imagine both Ash and Not on the same defense to enable as much mobility as possible. I think someone could make something really cool with that.
Well, I don't know if you guys watch June. He does a lot of really interesting stuff with Vantage and always does really creative defensive teams. But he has been using Ash on defense, or had been for quite a while, and just taking the score hit because it did so well. So that's
Oh wow. Yeah, I was thinking about that because I was like, Ash on defense could be really good because Joel and I, DTM 2, I think. We have been using Ash and SD a ton, right? And we've been using those miracle builds. We've been using those defensive builds. And Ash can really survive a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So without those mythic buffs, she's going to go right into that same area where she's going to be able to survive a lot. And that teleport's going to be really strong. So I'm very interested to see how she performs on defense. And there are a ton of other mythics that I think are going to be pretty cool to see on defense as well. Now, this is kind of weird, but I felt like Ashera was always not the best offense mythic. Like, she's decent because she can give Null Panic, but I always thought she'd be better on defense because she could give Null Panic, and then that you could just throw on buffs onto your defense team pretty safely, right? And she does pack a punch too, for sure.
Oh, definitely.
So I'm kind of interested to see if there's any way to use her on defense. I don't know if she'll make the cut just because it's going to be super competitive with pretty much having access to anything. But I do think it'll be interesting to see what she can do.
Okay, I have a question for you guys real quick. Are far save units on offense gone now in Chaos Season?
Okay, so this is the interesting thing for me, right? When it comes to strategies for Chaos Season, the thing that got hit the hardest for sure is tanking, right?
Yes.
Tanking got hit really, really hard. When you think about like effective HP, units are losing from anywhere from like 15 to 20 HP and then plus 5 or 10 resistance and 5 defense. That's a lot of effective HP to be losing off a unit. Like, tanking is not going to be easy, especially when you don't have a save ball, so you can guarantee that the matchups get split between two units, right?
Right.
If you want to do that now, you're relying on a frontline unit, and then a far save in the back, or like a near save in the back, and then a frontline mage or something, right? But even then, I feel like it's going to be really difficult to deal with some of these new units. Like, offensively, these units are just absurd that we get nowadays. And even though they did have mythic buffs on defense, I feel like the amount of offensive stats you get from defense mythics typically isn't that high. I feel like most of the time, maybe you're getting plus 6 attack at the most, maybe speed at a little bit. But like on the other side of the thing, right? Like if you're tanking, you're usually getting a ton of HP resistance to defense. Like you're just getting a ton of stats essentially. So I'm kind of scared to see if tanking is relevant in this season.
Well, let me put it to you this way: you don't even have to use new units. So this cav line I put together this really was a throwback. I had Nana, Reinhardt, and keep in mind they don't have their bonus stats yet because that's not set up in the game. So that's without bonus stats. And then the other one I had was Harmonic Leaf, who is excellent on defense. And so those were my 3 units that were set up to attack people, and then I had a Pathfinder unit. And they were able to take down my Rhea, who was supported by Elamine and Niffle.
Really?
So, yeah. I mean, that is...
Oh, yeah.
That is something. Like, this is the units that I'm used to using. I am calibrated to playing a certain way with those tanks, and I have to completely redo that now. It's very interesting.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely. I think tanks are like kind of screwed, to be completely honest, because like I was doing a Fey report that got thrown away, but I was doing stat power creep, right? And I was doing all the math for it. It took literally forever, but like the amount of tack we have gotten since the beginning of the game till now is absurdly higher. Like just through skills and seals, like you're getting, plus 18 attack and speed from your A slot and your seal at some points, and that's just absurd. Right. But without bonus stats, tanks don't really survive. They kind of just die. And the interesting thing to me about that, right, is if tanks die, your source of null C is typically gone, which means if your null C is gone, things like dancers, things with fire sweep, any of those kind of things become a lot better.
Yes.
So I'm interested to see how much more prevalent they become in the defense meta.
I mean, I definitely think that we will be seeing a lot of like at least flash effects for staffs, because like the only unit, or at least the only armor that has no C is Ascended Fjorm, right? But I would assume that most people can have a counter to Ascended Fjorm, especially without the bonus stats that these mythics gives her, and especially since Dual Crom is a menace everywhere right now. So, like, and I do agree that like tanking in general is just going to be very, very hampered because of the lack of stats. Right. And yeah, I feel like we're reverting back to I think it was around summer-ish of last year, where basically most of the defenses that were meta had things like Wind Sweep Selena, or other wind sweep effects that were trying to take out and deal with a lot of the save units that were common back then. And I think that also goes into what you were saying about the amount of attack being so much higher. It was because like IS needed to give players some way to be able to counterplay these huge save balls with all these bonus stats. And when you remove all of that, obviously it just becomes a lot more threatening. And yeah.
DTM, this is such a rabbit hole that I've been down. And it's all of it. Every bit of it is Vector's fault.
Oh, come on, Joel.
I'm sorry, but so the problem is they needed to make armors that were comparable or better to Vector, and then that balanced out, and suddenly they were like, oh wait, no, but now we've got to balance out the meta by creating these better nukes, and so that's Vector. They really overtuned him. I think that might be the biggest unit-wise, the biggest mistake that Faye has made, like even bigger than the old Reinhardt.
I would actually agree.
Okay. Here's my argument. My argument that it wasn't Vector, it was damage reduction that was the problem. They had the problem where units weren't surviving, and they were like, okay, we need to give these mixed phase units something. Let's give them damage reduction, and that way they can start doing things, right? Well, damage reduction took over the meta and went nuts, and then Vector showed up. So I feel like it's definitely partly damage reduction's fault as well.
That's interesting. Tell us again, how merged up is your Vector again? I just wondering.
I'm biased on both sides. I have a plus 10 Fallen Ike running damage reduction, and I got plus 10 Brave Hector being annoying over here too.
I mean, I don't think damage reduction would have been that bad if like Flane or Elamine wouldn't have existed and would have allowed like Flane and Elamine allowed these armor units to have damage reduction, while previously they were only in infantry with Spurn and Close Call and the such. And so, yeah, I think I sort of agree on that point, but yeah, I think it was mainly the prevalence of Flame giving out that damage reduction that was really starting to hamper being able to deal with these save balls.
Definitely interesting. So, okay, I'm going to go on another copium streak here. So everybody get ready. Speaking of mythics and how the meta is reverting, I feel we are going to go back, and we might go back into a Vantage meta. It's possible, because the reason why Vantage fell off was two reasons. One, everyone started running defense mythics, and that caused everyone's stats to go up, way more HP, way more defense, way more difficult to kill them in that one round, right? And then second, damage reduction. So those are the two things that kind of made it so that Vantage was getting pushed out of the meta, essentially. But now that we're losing the mythic buffs, that's half of it. So that's half gone. And you know who ignores damage reduction if you can get her special off?
Winter Altina.
I'm just saying. Okay, Winter Altina too, but I'm just saying. Maybe Altina's coming back.
If Altina becomes meta in Chaos, that's how we know this is truly the chaos of Aether Raids. I will say that if what we were talking about with like wind sweep and fire sweep effects becoming a thing that is meta on defense, unless your Vantage unit can run null C, it is going to be a lot more difficult. It's still going to be difficult to do these Vantage strats. That's obviously not Winter Altina's problem with null C in her base kit, but it's just something I guess to consider when thinking about these Vantage strats.
And what it really depends on though is do the two defense archetypes that I'm talking about truly come back? And the Cav line and the Sigurd line. If those two come back, the problem is they have so much threatened area that it's difficult to properly run a Vantage unit.
That too. Yeah.
It's very easy to get around them unless you have Vantage Farsave Arden.
What? I'm sorry, what?
Hey.
Okay.
I mean, Oblivion was allowed to have his copium about Altina. I'm allowed to have my copium about Arden. I'm just saying.
I thought you were going to bring up Brave Marth. That's what I thought you were going with.
I was same.
I'd throw you guys a curveball now and again. I mean.
Okay, speaking of Arden, let's talk a little bit about the bonus units and how now versions are going to be bonus units, like version 1 to 1.8 and then 2 to 2.11. So what are some of the version 1 units you're looking forward to see with those bonus stats? Because that is going to be a big deal on defense, especially in my opinion, right? On offense, it kind of substitutes for mythic buffs, but not fully. But on defense, it's going to be really scary.
I mean, obviously, Reinhardt might come into play with bonus stats. Bonus stats gives +4 to all stats, right? So, like, for a Brave unit, like, +4 to his attack is absolutely huge. Personally, for me, I'm super excited to see how far I can go with an Omni Tank OG Lucina, just for fun. No bias at all. And Brave Ike is also book 1, right?
Yes.
I would love to bring back my old Bike and Lucina team. That has so many memories, and I mean, obviously it is going to be hard to tank because of what we talked about of lacking the mythic buffs. But I don't think they should have any problem finding kills at the very least.
If there's one unit though that can do it, it's Bike. Right? I mean, everything is built in there so nicely. And the thing you're going to have to watch out for, of course, is Deadeye Crom. I mean, that's his nemesis. But, well, there are many nemesis for him. But anyway.
Dual Leaf was the original nemesis. Yeah. Still have a grudge about that.
True.
But yeah, if there's anything that can do it, it's got to be him. I'll second the Reinhardt thing. And also, I'll second the fact that it's bigger on defense than it is on offense. And I think that's more about the version, because I was looking at all the version 1 units, and I just think they're going to have more impact on defense with, well, again, Nana is in there, Reinhardt. You've got a couple really good nukes in there that I think will be good on defense. On offense, the problem is, I mean, that +4 to all stats means more to units that you want more bulk with. And we've already talked about the fact that bulk won't have the same value because you just don't get as much as you have when you have 4 mythics. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to what we can do on defense. On offense, I think the bonuses are going... Honestly, I'm going to have Reinhardt as my bonus because I think it's going to be really easy on offense for him to sweep in and get a kill.
Yeah,
that's fair.
There's 2 other units I'm thinking of. There's actually a few. Like, there's a lot of good units in year 1, actually. But I'm thinking Brave Lucina 1. Brave Lucina is really good. The bonus stats don't really matter, but the fact that she could just be a bonus at any point and I can give out that drive breath is pretty nice. And then 2, one of Joel's favorites, Sonya. Yes! I think Sonya's going to be really good on defense.
I didn't realize she was version 1 until today. For some reason, I had it in my head that she was version 2.
She's version 1. Yeah, version 1.
Oh. Yeah, I did not. I learned that literally right now. So I guess I can join the club.
She's Gen 2, but she's version 1, which is correct. It's confusing.
Yeah, I had to go through it and actually look at it. There's also that, and then the funny thing to me is like if we could have Reinhardt and Brave Lynn come back on defense, that'd be hilarious.
Oh my god.
I think Brave Lyn will need a lot more than the bonus stats, unfortunately. It would have been super cool, though. Oh, man. Maybe Brave Lyn will get a re-refine. I mean, that's copium, but hopefully.
Just give her some stats.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no.
Make Losses Decay also counter beasts. Like, there's no reason why it shouldn't. Or, like, make it so that it's Windsweep against beasts. There's no reason why it shouldn't.
Yeah. So when it comes to Gen 2 units, because we do have confirmed Gen 1, Gen 2, I think it will go Gen 3 at least. I don't know if it'll go past that, just because like you're starting to get to newer and newer units. But who knows, maybe they will.
Bonus Fallen Edelgard, let's go.
Oh, gosh. Oh god. I don't know about that one.
Right.
That was like a scary period when everyone's just running 5 Fallen Edelgards on their defense.
I remember that. That was so fun. For me.
When it comes to Gen 2, there's a lot of notable units. Obviously, Brave Hector is probably the most notable, but I also think there's some other great units like Micaiah, like Ophelia, Legendary Marth. They're very good. Brave Veronica maybe makes a comeback. She was a menace on defense for a while, so maybe bonus stats will make her annoying enough where she can be run on like a cav line or something like that. There's also some very good save units like Legendary Tiki and Halloween Myrrh. So maybe, you know. And then the other thing is something I was finding as I was doing some research on stats is as you get more and more stats become less valuable, right? You want more effects at that point.
Yeah.
But as stats get worse, you need more stats essentially, right? So something like a Versa is actually really amazing because she can just put those debuffs in panic and really just ensure the stats stay low. So, I mean, that's essentially how she was used year one. So she might make a comeback as well, which would be pretty interesting.
And the biggest thing with her is, again, you talked about the cheerleading meta that will be a thing. She makes it easier for you to get a kill with your bonus unit, which is not to be trivialized.
Right. Exactly, yeah, definitely.
But you're forgetting a version 2 unit that's going to be really good, and that's Gunthra.
I totally forgot about Gunthra. I don't even have her on my list.
She will be.
That is true. Wow.
She will be very good on defense, possibly on offense. I have seen a hit and run Gunthra team before, but it's been a while.
Yeah, she just does like. How big is her debuff? -7?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think it's -7.
Yeah, that's bad. I don't want to deal with that. That's a lot of stats to lose, especially when you're not getting mythic buffs. Wow. Oh man, that is scary.
I was going to say, and she herself like combined that with like I think it's the broadleaf effect and the Pledgian effect. She's just going to be a very huge nuke.
Yeah, that is scary. I did not think of that one. The other thing is we might see Dancer Micaiah come back, possibly. If Vantage does become a thing, I do expect Micaiah to just come back because she is like one of the best counters to that.
Yeah.
So that could be kind of interesting. It feels like we're almost like going back in time with Aether Raids. It's like a nostalgia trip.
I'm going to be so disappointed if we're talking about all of this. Oh, we're going to go back in time. All these things are going to change. We're going to get to Chaos Season. It's like, oh, there's another Catria ball and I'm going to try to tank it. I'm going to be wrecked.
I feel like the fact that you can use Elamine anywhere will kind of cancel that out. I could actually see Catria ball just falling off because anyone can use. I mean, not everyone has Elamine, but like if you can just use Elamine at any point, Catria ball becomes a lot less scary.
I'm almost sure that's the case, but there's been a lot of things where I've been like, oh my God, it's all going to change. And it stayed exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think at the very least, the fact that there's only one save unit allowed on offense will change defense quite a bit because Catria balls basically became the best archetype because they were the best to counter save balls. And if save balls become less relevant, that means the advantages that Catria ball has will also become less relevant. And of course, you can't protect your Catria ball anymore with as much with just one save unit. You still can with a far save. And like a good distribution of traps. But that also just makes it a lot easier to player phase. And as we mentioned before, with all the stats being reduced, it becomes much more favorable for player phase strategies. And so I do genuinely think things will change. Whether or not it will actually happen, of course, really depends on whether or not the players in this mode do make the changes. But I think for like Chaos Season, as we mentioned, it was like Aether Raids ranked or something like that. I think people will be making changes. Hopefully, maybe this is just me being hopeful, but I do see that change become.
I definitely think you're right, but I'm just it's one of those things I would be disappointed if we were wrong.
Same.
I would
disappointed.
I would like to put it out there. I think it's try hard raids is actually what it needs to be.
That's a pretty good name. The other unit, if Vantage does come back, I don't know if you guys remember this, but like I think it was like year 2. Levitain was like the whale unit. Like, because what you could do with Levitain is that she has that, like, you know, the blade sword or whatever.
Yeah.
But you could run Gale Force on her with Valoria, and what you could do is like take out some opponents with her and then just Vantage the rest of the team. And it was like a really effective strategy. So I'd be really interested to see if that does come back, even though Levitain didn't get the best refine.
It might. I mean, Valoria also got a really amazing refine, so if you combine the two together...
Yes, she did.
I was so happy about that. But yeah, if you like combine that, I think you could make it work. Whether or not it will be prevalent, I'm personally am a bit skeptical, but I could see it working.
Well, you're forgetting what actually killed Levitain, and that was the lull skill.
Yeah, that is something definitely to consider, because it is much more rampant than it is, way more than back then for sure.
I mean, otherwise, let's talk about Vantage Nino.
The throwback.
I thought about that. I was thinking about that. Like, can I ramp up my Nino? Like, it's been a long time. That'd be really fun.
I want to bring out my Matthew.
I never used Matthew. I was too afraid.
Well, so before Linja, and so therefore before the Duo's Hindrance became such a big deal, Matthew plus the Bridal Micaiah, I mean, that was the easy button. I could beat so many maps with that. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Gen 3 units, there's like a billion that are amazing, right? But there's also Mythics showing up now. So the interesting thing is you'll be able to run Mythics that aren't technically like the bonus Mythic as bonus units. Now, they did mention that you don't get the like score safety net, but if you're involved with the Heavens, you're probably not going to be relying on that anyway. So I do think that's pretty interesting. If we do get to Gen 3, we'll be able to run pretty much any Gen 3 Mythic who's like, what is that? Air, Altina, Naga,
Thracier,
Duma. Yeah. So that would be kind of cool.
It's interesting. It is less intriguing to me than version 1 and version 2 because we are starting to get into the more powerful units. But it's been long enough. I mean, hey, maybe Legendary Roy could be a thing.
Maybe.
You gotta throw salt on the wounds.
Oh, wait. What? Version 3. Horse Dimitri.
Oh my god.
Oh, OG Edelgard, let's go.
There you go.
That with the new refine that's OP as Brave Hector. It's going to be the dream.
We'll also get both the Alms. We'll get Brave Alm and we'll get Legendary Alm. And Legendary Alm was really good on Aether Raids at one point. So he's also getting a remix. So he might come back. And that would be kind of scary because true damage sucks. I don't like fighting true damage very often.
That's interesting. Well, the reason I still don't think he's going to be very good is because he can't keep up in arena, and that's usually the measure because you don't get bonus stats there. So, that's another thing we should talk about. So from a simulation standpoint, like from recalibrating, this is going to play a lot like SD and like the 1v1 matchups, which is interesting.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared of that because SD requires a lot of mental power to do. So doing that, I mean, I guess you don't have to worry about your opponent taking a turn after you, but even so, like, you have to really understand matchups really well to see who gets kills in SD. So I could see that being a bit problematic.
The other thing in SD is you didn't have to survive. Like it was okay to trade, and it is definitely not okay in this mode.
No, yeah, that's like gonna knock you out of top 1K like instantly, pretty much, if you start trading. If you like, even if you lose like maybe 2 units, it's gonna be really competitive, I feel like.
I mean, I think the one thing that saves it from becoming completely SDR is one, it is AI controlled, so there are ways if you know the AI to work around that and potentially set up in a way. There's also the fact that, well, you have 7 ladders as well, and so that can help like mitigate in case you get like a super whaled out plus 10 6-unit defense. I don't think it will be as bad as SD,
No, I don't think so either.
Not at all. I do think it will be a more challenging than the current Aether Raid seasons.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
It really depends on how much time people put into their defenses. I mean, that'll tell us that'll show how hard it's going to be. If they, I can think of some crazy things that people can do, and that's if that comes to be, then it'll be tough.
I mean, it just comes down to whether or not like we have like a critical mass of the people in the vaults like working on those defenses. Because like one of the reasons why Aether Raids right now is, I think, so uninteresting is the fact that like pretty much the only time you run into the quote unquote meta defenses are generally the first and the last day, just due to how runs are done. Like other than that, at least in my experience, it may be different experience compared to you all because I don't have like many mythic merges, but like most of the defense I run into are fairly unoptimized. Like I still see blocked off teams. I still see like corner units. Corner fallen Edelgards are still everywhere despite them being a meme. Yeah, I mean, it really just depends on whether or not people in the vault in this parallel ladder do with the defense. And if obviously defenses, I think, will be able to be easier constructed, so that should increase the amount of I guess quote unquote challenging defenses, but it will be interesting to see.
So my experience with that, and there are different tracks you can get on, and so my rank 1 weeks, generally they stay hard because you're running into all of the really difficult people just day in and day out. I think the moment you lose you lose some sort of lift, I think it'll bump you out of that track and it'll be much easier. But if you're trying to go for optimal scoring, I think it's going to be a tough week.
I 100% agree because I'm not at perfect score yet. I'm at like 25 merges. So I'm like a little bit off. But if I don't lose defense like at all, I'm just playing hard mode every single day. Like it's just perfect defenses every single day until I lose some kind of lift. So if it's like that, it's going to be pretty scary.
I do have a question for you guys. So we all at least started in daily AR content. And
yes.
I mean, DTM, you're doing it twice a week now? Is that where you
yeah,
your week?
Twice a week.
Yeah. So are you guys planning to ramp that up during this time? Like, are you planning on doing any sort of daily content for this week of chaos?
I'm definitely not planning on doing daily because I just simply do not have the time to do so. I might, depending on how like long these matches go, I might go back to doing 3 videos a week. I mean, the reason why I switched it back to 2 is because one, Aether Raids content-wise has became less interesting, and 2, like the content has also gone really short as well. So that was the reason why I switched to 2. But if it becomes long again, it becomes interesting again, I think I might go back to 3, at least for the specific chaos weeks.
For me, I plan to do some chaos content. I don't know if I'm gonna go back to I'm definitely not gonna do it daily, but I might do it 2 or 3 times a week depending on how it's received and if people are interested in watching it. If they're not, then I probably won't. Because I do mostly have like moved to scripted content, and that takes a lot of time to do. So I don't know if I'm gonna have the free time to do both, essentially. And I don't want to sacrifice scripted content at this point because I enjoy it a lot more. But it's possible that I go back and do some of it, especially if it gets really popular and people are really into it. Then I'll probably do more of it.
I think my plan is to at least set up the recording stuff and go, and then if it's interesting, then I'll edit it because the editing is what takes so much time.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you. Like, I even before, I don't want to put out videos that are boring. Like, if it's boring to me, it's gonna be very boring to somebody else. So I just don't want to do that. So if it gets really crazy and interesting, though, then I'll put it out there. Though I could also see people getting salty if it's too difficult and they just don't want to watch it anymore.
Yeah.
So that's always a possibility too.
But I'd love to see content from some of the other creators. Obviously, Promise and Levin got their start in daily AR. I would love to see them do it at least a couple days. I mean, who else? I'd honestly like to see as much as possible. I try to watch every bit of Fae content I possibly can. So I'm a bit of an addict.
No, I'm right there with you, definitely. I watch a lot of Fae content. So I would love to see a lot of the AR content creators come back. I think that'd be really cool. Hopefully this can do it. I don't know if it will or not, because it is a lot of work for sure. Like it's a big time commitment.
Yeah.
At the very least, I think the first week will be super interesting, just due to the meta shakeup that will happen.
Yeah, I expect everyone to show up the first week at least, for sure. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about before we kind of close this out, unless you have other things you want to talk about, is the thing I was thinking about is that we don't get the 7th defense slot anymore, right? So that means that Dancer traps are pretty much gone, right?
Right.
So I'm very interested to see how that turns out. And the other thing is Hex Trap. That's something we haven't talked about at all, right? Hex Trap just got way stronger. Like, before it was pretty trash, but now it's, not only did it get a buff by being more upgradable, everybody's HP just dropped by like 10 to 20, right? So that definitely makes it scarier to run hit and run, because typically those units don't have the most HP.
Right. I mean, Dancer traps right now, I don't think are very meta currently in Aether Raids, and obviously they're completely dead now in the Chaos season, so I don't expect that to change too much. I will say that having both the defense and offense having their units count reduced by 1, I think affects taking strategies a lot more than it does for Gale Force strategies. Because for Gale Force strategies, sure, you may have 1 less unit to be able to be used, but you also have 1 less unit to deal with on your defense, on the defense. And with the restriction of having 1 dancer, that restriction is less impactful, because there's like, I guess, quote unquote, there's like not that room for an additional dancer, and you generally don't need that anymore now, because defense only has 6 units now, if that makes sense. I think I kind of explained that really weirdly. Compared to like tanking strategies, I think like you have less support options, and even though like you may be able to have more room to be able to position your units so that they are not get caught, I think that's just how the dynamic is going to be, at least from my initial impressions of that. Hex Trap obviously will make that a lot harder, but I think for most players, there should be ways to play around Hex Traps when it comes to Gale Force in particular. Maybe not for hit and run. Again, we'll have to wait and see, but I guess those are my general thoughts on that.
So the biggest thing I think about the Hex Trap, if you go back and look at these modes before they're released, usually IS has given us units that it thinks can be useful in those modes. And so it's interesting, like Hex Trap is good on regular Aether Raids, but it seems very clear to me that this is a Chaos Raids thing that they created here. So, I mean, we have to go back and look at like this new unit with the rally trap. I mean, is it a rally trap if the unit that's doing the rallying can now dance himself, basically? That's something to look at. Warp Bubble is another thing to look at. Is that something... Right. I mean, all of these things, we have to reevaluate how they fit in. Hex Trap is a clear thing that you look at and say, yes, this is obviously something that's good in this mode. But looking at the other stuff as well, like Florina, like Sane, I'm trying to think of other units before that. I haven't really gone in and dug into that, but I think that's something that's important to basically throw everything away that you knew and give a fresh look to this mode. I think that's something we're going to need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. So like one of the things I was thinking about was like that warp bubble you were saying, and that's not about Gatekeeper. Now, if you know me, I have said some things about Gatekeeper that not many people like to hear. If you're a Gatekeeper fan. So if he shows up and is amazing on defense, I'm gonna have to eat my words, and I'm not very happy about that. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't think there's much danger of that. So
Just from experience.
Oh, so I was gonna make a clip of me and Joel talking about Gatekeeper 6 months from now. It's gonna hurt.
Gatekeeper will have his day once he gets his refine in like 2 years.
I just invite salt. Like that is what I do. I mean, that's
Oh man.
okay. So
I'm trying to think, is there anything else?
yes,
Okay, go ahead,
there's
go ahead.
one other thing we need to talk about, and that's like if we're closing things up here, what is your advice right now to people looking at this mode? Like what's one thing that you wish they would know before they start building their offense and their defense? And I think DTM has to lead us off here since the meta has run into him.
Well, I guess for those that want to look into more player face strategies in response to like tanking being severely limited and like save balls no longer being a thing, I mean, one of the biggest things I could say is I would definitely want everyone to look at this mode with open eyes and give it a fresh, give it a fair shot, because I think this has a lot of potential. Player face strategies in particular, since I guess Joel lead it off with that, do require a lot of practice and can be intimidating to pick up. But I do think it's super rewarding, and like it just takes like actually doing it and getting that experience to be able to do it well. And if you are able to do it well, it's some of the most fun I think you can ever have. And it's also, I personally think, a lot more F2P friendly for a lot of people, because you generally don't need merges in order to do it well. Sure, there might be some specific units that can definitely do Gale Force a lot better. And yeah, I guess Brave Marianne Stans are also rising, so be sure to get that on the next Hero Fest.
Oh, that's interesting. My advice is going to be mean advice, but you need to do some homework, because as much as you can't do research on Chaos Aether Raids by itself, what you can do is research on current Aether Raids. And what that's going to help you do is understand basic strategies, because you really do need to understand just basic strategy to do well here. Because the thing I'm going to say is that with those 5 teams you get, you need to make sure that you have pretty diverse strategies amongst those 5, because you have no idea what you're going to run into. So by just having very diverse strategies, you're going to have more options to tackle different types of maps. Because there are going to be maps that are going to be very anti-hit and run, or there's going to be maps that are very anti-Gale Force or anti-tanking. So by just having a lot of different options for strategies, you're going to have a better chance of having a team that can actually handle that defense team you're running into, so that you don't feel quite as frustrated. Because if you are running like, even right now, I'll run a vector team, and then I'll run a vector team with dual Ike on it maybe. I'm just being lazy. And because there's only small changes there, I can't really tackle a completely different map with a different strategy. It's very similar strategies, right? So I think having a few player face strategies, have a hit and run, have a Gale Force, maybe have a tank strategy for sure, at least one. And then like trying to be a bit diverse will help you tackle those maps a lot better.
For me, I think first off, Oblivion, you totally stole mine with the diverse teams. I was gonna come in here and look real smart, but yeah, but I will say, be patient. I think IS is so Summoner Duels, for instance. I think Summoner Duels was a very well designed mode, but I think the rollout was trash. And this is very typical of what IS does. They are absolutely terrible at rollouts. And DTM, you said it earlier, and I cannot, it was so good. You said, I would have liked a more gradual change. And that's, I wish they would have given us something more gradual instead of just, wham, here's a completely new way to play Aether Raids. But they didn't. And so sometimes we have to have patience with them. So please take your time and take deep breaths. Understand that it's going to be a little bit of a rough start, and that's okay.
Right. And
Yes.
I think also like a lot of people, including myself, like come into the expectation in Aether Raids that, you know, we're supposed to win every single map, because, you know, we're against the AI. We're humans. We're supposed to be smarter than bots. Um, but
It's a big supposed to.
but like this is going to be completely new, and so there will be a lot of things that might be unexpected that you've never seen before, or haven't seen in a long while. And obviously there will be plenty of times that I will lose, at least, like I don't win every match in my Aether Raids even today, and that's okay. We have 7 ladders for a reason. There may be a time where you might not be able to get vault, but again, that's okay. As long as you're like learning, as long as you are patient, as Joel's made, I think you can find enjoyment out of Aether Raids chaos. And also, AI knowledge, I think, will also be very important, just to put that in there as well.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's a really good guide for the AI. It gets it really into depth, though. So in terms of like just understanding the AI, that really just comes down to experience and watching other people play. And you'll be able to develop that intuitive sense of what will happen, like when units will rally instead of attacking, just like things like that. I think as you continue on with Aether Raids, you'll be able to develop like intuitive sense. And so, yeah, I would heavily encourage everyone to keep an open mind
and celebrate the fact that they are letting you use your older favorites. That's a huge thing that they've done. I mean, your bike, your Arden, which is obviously the best version 1 unit. All of those units, you know.
He's very good. He is very good.
Get those out. See how they work. Play with them. Like, it's experiment. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a good chance, like, for content, like, or just even not even sure a content creator, just like getting to throw out your like clear on Reddit or whatever. Like, look, I cleared with my favorite unit from Gen 1. That can be such an amazing feeling, and I really am looking forward to that, and I hope that happens, right? I'm not sure it's going to happen, but I sure hope so, you know?
Yeah. I just want to make like a meme all Lucina Emblem team for the first week just to see how well it does.
I don't think it'd be a meme. Like, I think you could actually do something with that team.
Well, you're encouraging me now,
Definitely
so now I have to do it.
I mean, you got 5 teams. You could use one for Lucina.
And 7 ladders. I mean, let's go.
True.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, right? For me, like, we are going back to year 1 Aether Raids, kind of, but the biggest difference is that first month of Aether Raids was like horrifying. It was so scary because there was no ladder, there was no backup. You lost that match, you're done.
Yeah,
that's it. So, and even year 1, we had like 3 ladders, so we have 7 now. It's more than double. Like, don't feel bad using those ladders. Like, it's not a big deal. You make full use of them. They're a resource you have.
Hey, I got a perfect score last week, and I used 6 ladders.
Hey.
Use those suckers.
I almost had my highest score, not perfect score, but then someone hit me the last like 2 hours. I was so mad.
No.
Oh, that is the worst.
I was just like, really? Yeah, it is what it is. It's the AR special, right?
Yeah.
I hate those. Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else we need to talk about? Is there anything we like missed, maybe something you really want to bring up about Chaos Season before we end this?
Guys, these are a lot of work. The Oblivion does a lot of work for these, and in general puts so much effort into his content. Leave a like. Yes. I know a lot of you are subscribing because he's amazing. Keep it up. Tell your friends. Pass these videos around because it's the more people who watch these, the easier the effort gets.
Yes,
that's true. Thanks, Joey. You're like making me shy and embarrassed over here. Man.
I'm sorry. We can't go. DTM, how close are you to 1,000?
Yes. I was gonna bring that up too.
I'm currently, as of recording, have like 956 subscribers, so I think 44 is left for 1,000. Now you're making me shy too.
Make it happen.
Yeah, everyone listening to this, go subscribe to DTM. He has great content. Just go over, click a button. It's real easy. You can do it, and you're gonna enjoy the content you get. Oh yeah, it's definitely worth it.
Make it happen. It'll be amazing.
Thank you all. I really do appreciate it, and I really appreciate you, Oblivion, for bringing us together and talking about this. And honestly, I'm so excited to see what happens.
And we talk all the time. In case you guys can't tell, we really like each other.
Yeah. What? No way.
Me and Joel DTM just constantly messaging games all the time. Okay. If you made it through this entire discussion, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe, not only to my channel, but definitely to my two amazing guests, Fehology and DTM. Both of them make amazing videos. And like we said, DTM is very close to 1K subs, so definitely go over there and show him some love. This has been Oblivion, and I will catch you all later with more Fire Emblem Heroes.
Take care, Summoners.
Bye, everyone.